given the nature of the strategic plan, we will only be giving a vague overview tonight, and then we'll have a subsequent meeting. My goal is to have one of these meetings every quarter so that all of our supporters, donors, volunteers, all the people that make our work possible will always be up to date on what we're doing, programming changes, that type of thing. I kind of come from the for-profit area and for-profit sector where we're used to having investors and having to tell them what we're doing in our company, and letting them know how things are going, where we need help, that type of thing. And that's the goal of tonight, is to give you an overview of what our programming looks like. Because in the last year, we moved from the Unitarian Church, which was our longtime home. We've moved into a new home at the Youth Futures Shelter. And with that, it brought a bunch of changes to the way that we organize our organization. And so as we've gone through these changes, as we've reorganized, a lot of people have kind of been left in the dust, if you will, or a little bit unfamiliar with the changes that have been made. So we wanted to have this meeting tonight to talk about everything that we've been doing, everything that we're currently doing, and what will look like as we move toward the future. So kind of the biggest questions that we have to answer tonight is, what is outreach? And I'll get into that later on. What does our organization look like? How are we structured? Where, what are we funded by? And how do we envision ourselves growing as an organization into the future? But first, I'm going to let Rachel give kind of an explanation of what we do currently, what our three-pronged youth services model looks like, and what the three tiers, or three prongs, if you will, of our services look like. So I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, and then I will go over kind of our organizational goals and let you know kind of where outreach is headed.
Thanks, Jordan. So you have in front of you this model, the youth services model. And if you know me, you know that I love figures and I love colors. So of course this is how it's presented. I'm going to throw it up here. This is how I think, big picture, about what outreach does. This model is based on the needs of youth that we observe in our communities. Outreach is responsive to needs, and our services are informed through gathering information from youth, from other service providers, and from community members. Through these experiences and conversations, and through reviewing the literature on national trends, we know that LGBT youth are at high risk for homelessness, suicide, victimization, and other negative outcomes. This is because LGBT youth often experience family rejection at home, bullying at school, and hostility in the community. According to the 2014 Outreach Youth Survey, 2/3 of the youth had experienced some form of abuse. 40% have been kicked out by their parents at least once. About 1/3 of the youth we serve are currently experiencing homelessness, and the rest are at high risk for becoming homeless. 45% worry that sometimes they won't have enough food to eat. Over half have been harassed at school because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Half don't feel safe at school. 15% have engaged in survival sex, meaning they traded sex for basic needs such as food or shelter. And 62% of outreach youth report that they have attempted suicide. Outreach's youth service model aims to improve youth outcomes through intervention at the 3 levels. The first level on the bottom is green, the prevention level. This is where we look at community level change. We're trying to transform the entire system that these youth exist and operate in. So in this level, we work with families. We have safe schools initiatives, and we provide cultural competency trainings for various groups, and hold community forums and events for the public. The next level, the yellow level, is the intervention level. So this is our drop-in centers. This is services for youth who have a lot of needs but are not currently in crisis. So we have basic needs supplies for them. We offer education and employment help, mental health care, and psychoeducational programs on a variety of topics. The final level, the top red level, is that of crisis response. Through coalition leadership and involvement, collaboration with partners, community engagement, and targeted advocacy, we're laying the groundwork now for a comprehensive statewide crisis response system for youth in need. We'll talk more about this when we get to the discussion of our goals. So for now, I'm going to touch on some of our current programs and initiatives that are key to our mission and to meeting needs on all of these levels. Currently, we have 4 drop-in centers in Ogden, Logan, Clearfield, and Brigham City. At these centers, youth can access basic needs items like food, clothing, and camping supplies, and we have a library of LGBTQ literature and resources for them. We also have Next Step Project, an education and employment intervention that I designed and piloted at the Homeless Youth Resource Center a few years ago. So that's now offered at each of our 4 drop-in centers, and this program has helped several youth access college and vocational training. Our trans support groups, with separate groups for youth and adults, provide safe space for trans and gender nonconforming people to explore gender identity, receive information on issues relevant to gender, and to interact with and support others exploring their own gender identity. In our drop-in centers, we also hold general support groups, and our volunteer therapists offer individual mental health service to youth in need. Outreach youth participate in discussions and educational groups on topics related to healthy relationships and healthy sexuality. Topics covered include safer sex, consent, boundaries, emotional grooming, and domestic violence. Youth in our centers also have opportunities to engage in art and expression. Art projects vary and include art journals, painting, sculpting, drawing, and murals. Beyond our drop-in centers, Outreach has several current initiatives that contribute to our work toward our vision of saving lives and transforming communities. Here are a few of those initiatives. Outreach provides cultural competency or ally training to various community groups, including current and future educators, health departments, and other youth service providers, and law enforcement. Over the coming year, through a partnership with the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition, we will be providing cultural competency trainings for personnel in all domestic violence shelters throughout Utah. Outreach advocates for social and political change in various ways. In last year's legislative session, I informed the development of a bill that would give licensed youth service providers statewide the ability to legally shelter a youth under age 18 overnight without being held legally liable for harboring a runaway. I testified on behalf of the bill and participated in meetings where the licensing requirements were written. And then just a few weeks ago, I got to stand on the porch as Scott and Kristen, who are right here, of Youth Futures, cut the ribbon to open the first shelter of this kind in Utah. And we're hoping that others will follow. As a service provider to homeless youth, and having researched youth homelessness for the past 5 years in Utah, I saw a need for collaborative discussion and collective strategizing on how to end youth homelessness. In August, I started the Utah Coalition to End Youth Homelessness, which I currently chair. This coalition is dedicated to preventing youth homelessness and providing effective services to youth experiencing homelessness, and includes representation from organizations such as Volunteers of America Utah, Utah Pride, Family Acceptance Project, Salt Lake Community College, Utah State Office of Education, the State Housing Office, and Juvenile Justice. The Coalition Steering Committee is currently conducting a youth needs assessment that will inform a 10-year strategic plan to end youth homelessness in Utah that group is creating. This document will serve as a structure through which we can begin creating a safety net for youth in crisis, empower communities to meet the needs of their underserved youth. I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, talking about goals and the future a little bit. So I've laid out these 9 goals. Outreach's goals in serving youth over the coming years are based on our 3-tiered model of service. These goals are to support and meet the needs of youth in crisis, to reduce the incidence of youth homelessness, to reduce the incidence of youth suicide, to reduce the incidence of youth victimization, including sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, to reduce the incidence of negative health outcomes, including HIV, tobacco use, obesity, and substance abuse, to improve education and employment outcomes for youth, to increase family acceptance and support of LGBTQ children, to increase youth's feelings of safety and support in their schools, and to increase and expand broad community knowledge of issues faced by underserved youth and empower communities to meet the needs of their youth. Progress toward these goals will be assessed through several data sources, including Outreach's annual youth survey. Moving on to geographic goals, I would like to point out that these goals are statewide and beyond in scope. Currently, we're the only nonprofit in the state that's striving to meet the needs of LGBTQ youth and other underserved youth in rural communities. Our approach is based in responsiveness to community need, community empowerment and collaboration. It's strengths-based and is informed by knowledge on the issues of intersectionality with special attention to youth who are marginalized in multiple ways. Because we believe this approach truly has the ability to save lives and transform communities, it is our priority as an organization to see these services expanded statewide to meet the needs of youth, not only in northern Utah and along the Wasatch Front, but in communities throughout the state. With this goal in mind, we're pleased to announce a statewide tour in partnership with the Family Acceptance Project to engage, connect, educate, and empower community members statewide to create services for youth in their area that are lacking, including drop-in centers like the ones we currently run in Ogden, Logan, Clearfield, and Brigham City. This tour, along with the Utah Coalition to End Youth Homelessness and the emerging 10-year strategic plan to end youth homelessness, will allow outreach to grow to effectively meet the needs of LGBT and other underserved youth throughout the state, including those in immediate crisis or danger. Turner, I'm going to give it back to you.